Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and this is the Road to the Record weekly review special for week 18 in the second year of the Gaming Decathlon Competition. This week I brought in a respectable 2,377 points, more than 200 better than last week, and not too far away, just a few hundred points shy of the best round total of 2,691. Current virtual best, decent rise to 3,164, and actually a really good thing because there was a new game introduced this week, and a game that went into retirement, and our score actually went up. Usually it goes down when that happens. The all-time virtual best, also a small increase there, 10 points higher at 5,318 points. Looking at the 10 games individually, we opened with the brand new game to the channel. Quite a few episodes already in place. Actually, it was introduced last week, but last week also had the end of the previous title. The previous title being Kenshi. Kenshi is now out of the channel. I enjoyed the game, but a couple things were happening. One, I took an almost complete collapse to my group, pretty much destroying the campaign, but also I just was barely getting any views. I was enjoying the game myself, but it wasn't garnishing much attention. So Imperator Rome, just released from Paradox Development Studio, my favorite game maker. Yes, I love my sports games, but I love my grand strategy games as well. And so another shot at a grand strategy game here on the channel, and it opens with 43 points, technically in its second week. On to Draft Day Sports College Basketball 2019. 495 points come in this week. New record only by 10 points and still shy of 500, which was really hard to do. And now, with only a 5-point gap, the minimum points earned in that game is 5. So next time around, any increase to score will finally surpass that halfway mark of 500. But looking at that more closely, I have another tab here with an actual breakdown of the score. So this is something I'm going to try to feature a little more often now, is where do these numbers come from, as there's got to be some stat junkies out there. And when I first introduced the channel, I did break down these games, but then at that point, I didn't really have any viewers and it didn't amount to anything. So I'm going to kind of roll this back a little bit and see how that goes. Let me know in the comments if you do appreciate the breakdown of the scores. So this is probably the most complex of the current games that I have right now in terms of how games are scored. A lot of them are pretty simple, how I come up with those scores. But this one, it's coming from 4 different places, and really 5 and 6 different places. Let me start with the breakdown of conference that I play in. This is a base score. Every season I start automatically with this base score. I'm not showing the bottom end of that table. It did start out at 0 points, but as I moved up through the conferences, each conference higher is 10 points more than the previous conference. So eventually, when I get into Conference A, that's 210 points as a base point. Right now, Conference E that I played in this year is 170. So I start with that base score each season. For wins throughout the year and postseason, it is 5 points per win. So I had 22 wins this season. That is 110 points. And I'll come back into those, but let me just break down the score initially. So 5 points per win. League playoffs, depending on where you go, you get into the playoffs, 5 points, but don't get past that round, so just 5 points. You get into the semifinals for the conference, that's 15 points. You make it to the conference championship, 25. You win that conference championship game in the playoffs, that's 50 points. Additionally, a permanent score, so that's per season, but a permanent score is attached to the league titles, 10 points permanently. Now, dating back to the 2017 edition, that is part of my score, but I'll get back to that. National championships. To win the national championship is 200 points. To make it to the final 150, final 4, Elite 8, Sweet 16, second round, first round, so you make it there, 50 points. Or if you're just in the qualifier, 40 points. So that's a good points total. Now, there are 4 tournaments. The other 3 have a very, very similar scoring, but it is on a smaller scale. So it's not 200 points to win the NIT. It's 150, but it scales down accordingly. Now, the championships, to win it, 100 points permanently attached to my total. So this is a series that you can't get 1,000 points in one season. It can't be done. What it takes is additional championships. And let's see how that breaks down by looking at this season's total. So Conference E, 170 points. I had 22 wins. That's 110 points. I only made it to the semifinals of the league playoffs. And actually, I got knocked off in the first round. But that wasn't the quarterfinals. I had a first round bye. So I was already in the semifinals at that point. That's why it's 15. I have won 10 conference titles between the 2017 and 2019 editions. So 10 total conference titles is 100 points. And then I made it to the NCAA tournament despite not winning my league playoffs this year. And then I had a nice run and we got to the Elite 8. So making it to the Elite 8 is 100 points. You add that together, 170, 110, 15, 100, and 100. That's 495. That's where that point total came from. So, conversely, without re-showing everything, if I were this season to have gone on and won the national championship, let's say, with where I finished elsewhere being the same, well, that would have taken winning my Elite 8 game and getting to the Final Four and winning that, and then getting to the championship game and winning that. Meaning I would have had 3 more wins. 3 more wins is only 15 more points. So that's 510. Okay. And then placement national championship, that's 200. So there is another 100 points from what I actually earned. So that's now 615. And I would have had a national championship. That's 100 permanent points. That's 715. So I still would have been well shy of 1,000 even if I had won the national championship this year. So this is a series that in order to get mastery, it's not just a matter of getting a national championship win. It's going to be a continuous building of the program. The good news on that one, I would then have 100 permanent points kept in there. So that's where that cumulative part comes in. And those points wouldn't have gone away, and I would have started every season with 100 points more than I had that previous year. So then if I turn around and do the exact same thing next season, still in Conference E, which I'm not actually, I'm moving up to Conference D, so there's 10 more points. I didn't win the league playoffs, so I wouldn't have had additional points there, but I would have had those 100 permanent points in the national championship. So I would be looking at, if I did the exact same thing a year from now, instead of 715 points, I'd be looking at, 725 for the conference increase, and I'd be looking at 825 for having that national championship the year before, and then going on and winning it again. So that's how I'm ultimately going to get to that 1,000, is I'm going to have to win a couple national championships or like NIT tournament or something and get those cumulative points and win some more league titles along my way. Ultimately, I think I'm going to have to get up to, the likes of Conference A or Conference B. Those 30 points aren't huge, but they matter. I'm going to have something like a 30-point season, 30-win season to get to 150 points. But definitely, I think I need a national championship or 2 to start approaching 1,000 in this game. At this point, I'm kind of stalling around 500 points until I can really, really have that deep run in the tournament. And a lot of wins in a season, a league playoff victory, 50 points there, whatever combination it's going to be. But I'm really only about halfway there, and in terms of conference increase, which has really pushed me to where I am now in the total of getting close to 500 every year, that's only got up to 40 more points. I'm getting the first of those 10 this next season. But I'm getting closer to maxing that part out. So it is definitely going to come down to competing for a national championship and winning a couple of times. Okay, so back to our weekly review. Next game, college football. Still losing close games. Still not recruiting anyone, but I'm hopeful that I'm going to have some excellent recruits this season and have us better off for next year. I have no difficult games the rest of the season, so I'm really hoping over these last few games that I can get a couple of victories and at least get 100 points this season, hopefully. But I'm trying to set myself up for a good year next year. Motorsport Manager, 128 points. I'm accumulating points at a better rate in the Formula 1 level than ever before, so looking forward to a decent finish to the season. I might hit a couple hundred points, but probably not. I've only got, 5 races left, so maybe I'll get 50 points more. That would be nice. That would be a good finish to the season, but I set myself up for a much better season next year. Pro Cycling Manager in the career mode, 85 points, nearly to my total, and a whole lot of season left to go. So I will definitely break into the 100 mark this season, and well beyond that. I should easily get above 200, maybe even 300 points this season, as we are now in that Pro Continental level and doing the occasional World Tour race that we're getting entrance into. Should really build our profile. But what I need long term for that series is I need a bigger, better sponsor. The Nike sponsorship that we have only makes marginal increases year by year, and if I'm going to get into the World Tour status, I'm going to need a lot more money than what we have right now, because I could attract better riders, but I can't afford to pay better riders as it is right now. So I'm kind of hovering at riders in the low 70s. We are diversifying, so I'm more competitive now, but I'm still not bringing in the quality of rider that I need to get to that next level and get into the World Tour. Pro Cyclist mode, I'm now into the Tour de France. I did not defend both national championship jerseys, but I did defend the road race one, so I got a victory there, and I'm off to a good start at the Tour de France, a few stages in. But big points coming now that I'm there. Football Manager was inactive this week, as was F1 2018 Career Mode. NBA 2K19 was the part-timer that was on the go, and I added 5 more points, so that was a good points haul. Some of that coming from an upgrade to my overall ranking by 1 point, and then some badge progress. I'm also about to hit my first landmark of the season. It's only worth 10 points, but the points landmark, I'm only 9 points away from hitting that right now. So I scored 9 more points this season, and I'll hit that first landmark and have 10 more points on the season, and that's the first of those landmarks that I'll have hit. Dirt Rally 2.0, I did score 12 points this week. New classification that I'm competing in with the cars that I purchased as I've started Season 3 of Rally. And then I also scored some points, which was awesome. And those points have boosted me up. Still short of my record season, but again, I did a recalculation of scoring in that as I've gotten to know the game a little bit better and how it does its scoring. And so I've adjusted accordingly, and I actually would be higher than what my record was at this point in time. Based on that recalculation, that score would have been lower. On the flip side, the all-time virtual best, I have had a change, and my virtual tie for 4th is finally broken. It was Draft Day Sports College Basketball, scoring 10 points more than its previous best, and now 10 points more than the previous version of the game where I had the exact same score. They were both sitting on 45. Now it's finally beaten after that Elite 8 performance took me to 495 and made it the sole 4th place game, and yet somehow still shy of 500. That was the only movement there, though. I had some movement down the chart outside of the top 14, but nothing affected those next best 3. That's going to do it for this review special. Thanks for tuning in, and let me know in the comments below if you do appreciate getting that breakdown of scores and what this all means. I think that is something that I need to get into on a more regular basis, and like I said, unlike Draft Day Sports College Basketball, the other games are much more simple in how they are scored, like the new one, Imperator Rome, the 43 points. I've got a score, I think, of 439 right now from the way that Paradox scores their own game. I just divide it by 10. Bye for now.